Ever heard of a digital pioneer working outside of Silicon Valley?
Mm,
Get ready to dive into the career of Michelle Lent Schwartzman,
okay.
a Brazilian entrepreneur who was ahead of the curve like every step of the way.
Mhm.
What can we learn from his journey, right, as we're navigating this crazy digital world ourselves? That's kind of what we're looking at today.
It's a great question because when you really dig into Michelle's story, it makes you think about, like, what does innovation really mean? How do you adapt? Because this is a guy who was taking risks, making big moves long before the internet was, like, a thing, you know?
Totally. We're talking like mid-90s here.
Yeah.
Like dial-up
Something
modems,
Human Navigator.
Netscape Navigator. Most people were barely figuring out email. And he's building some of the very first websites for like major companies.
And it's not like small fry either. We're
Right.
talking Volvo, huge brands. I
Yeah.
mean, trusting him to create their like online presence,
Yeah.
that's incredible for 1995.
Yeah.
Even more so when you consider that he was working at RSCG in New York City, the center of traditional advertising.
And it's funny you mentioned traditional advertising because this is right after he gets his master's degree in interactive telecommunications from NYU. Can you imagine explaining that degree to your family back then?
So you're saying you're learning to like interact with televisions, but like how?
Exactly.
Play the keyboard.
It just shows how early he understood the potential of all this digital stuff. But here's where it gets even more interesting. So he decides to go back to Brazil in '96, right when the internet's gaining some traction there.
And he doesn't just join any company, he joins MLab, which was one of the first firms in Brazil that was dedicated to building websites.
Wow.
Now, this is a time when, try explaining the value of a website to a company like Shell, right?
I can't even imagine that pitch. So we're going to create this virtual storefront for your gasoline
Right.
that people can visit from their computers.
You make it sound so easy.
I know, right?
Convincing these big established companies to invest in something that was essentially untested, that took some serious, I mean, you really got to understand their needs, their business.
Vision.
And he did it. Secured clients like Shell, Itaú, which is a huge bank in Brazil.
It's like he was handing them a roadmap to the future,
Yeah,
even if they didn't totally get it yet, you know?
exactly.
He wasn't just building websites. He was building, like, the foundation for Brazil's whole digital economy.
Exactly. And those early experiences, those were everything. He's honing his technical skills, yeah. But more than that, he's learning to navigate this brand new industry. He's building relationships. He's getting a reputation as a problem solver, someone who can bridge the gap between the tech side and the business side. And let me tell you, those skills, they were going to serve him well, especially as the internet and his career just kept evolving.
And then it's like he could sense what was coming, you know, like a shift.
Yeah, yeah.
And he jumps right into starting his own businesses, becoming an entrepreneur just as the dot-com boom is taking off.
Talk about good timing.
Obviously.
I mean, this wasn't just luck, though, right?
Right.
This is Michelle. He's got this, like, innate ability to just, like, see what's coming, you know? Capitalize on it. He knew the internet wasn't just going to change businesses. It was going to create entirely new ones.
And that's what he does. 1998, joins Bound Internet Solutions Brazil. Doesn't just want to climb the ladder there.
Yeah.
Brings his own agency into the company
Wow.
and uses that to lead their expansion into making websites.
It takes a certain personality to, like, bring your own agency, right?
Yeah.
And be like, hey, come on in, you know.
Yeah.
Part of a bigger thing. That's entrepreneurial for sure. But also, think about it, the persuasion, the negotiation. This guy was dealing with some pretty complex business stuff. He was like a one-man digital revolution.
Like he was playing chess and everyone else was playing checkers.
Right.
Several steps ahead, always. But it doesn't end there.
Wow.
So 1999 rolls around. He joins Globo.com, brand new at the time.
And now look at, I mean, it's huge. One of the top information portals in Brazil. Just think about that. Michelle was there from the beginning, building a digital giant.
It's kind of mind-blowing, the pace of everything back then.
Mm-hmm.
New companies popping up every day. The internet itself changing so fast. Must have been exciting.
Oh, absolutely. It was exciting, but I mean, come on, the demands, it was high risk, high reward. I mean, a lot of those dot-coms just flamed out, you know.
Yeah.
Too much change, too fast. But Michelle, not him. He was thriving.
And this is where it gets really interesting, I think. 2000, the dot-com, like, mania.
Right.
It's at its peak. He joins DM9DDB, huge ad agency,
Great name.
to lead their digital transformation. Can you imagine walking into a traditional ad agency at that time and saying, we're changing everything.
I mean, they probably thought he was speaking like Greek or something.
Right.
But that was Michel. He got both worlds.
Yeah.
He had the creative vision to see how the internet could like completely transform advertising, but then the business smarts to sell it.
Yeah.
Get these like traditional companies to buy in.
And it's not just talk either. Look at the results. DM9DDB, their digital department under him, goes from like 4 people to 25.
That's huge.
That guy knew how to build a team.
It wasn't just about getting big, though.
Right.
Michel, he was about the bigger picture. The internet wasn't just a new place to put ads. It was a whole new way for brands to like connect with people, build relationships, create experiences. He was way ahead.
It's amazing how much he got done in such a short time.
It is.
But like you were saying earlier, the dot-com bubble, that was never going to last forever.
Nope. A lot of companies that flew too close to the sun came crashing down, but not Michel. He weathers the storm.
He always lands on his feet.
And what happens? He comes out even stronger.
It's amazing how his career changes. Going from those early days, like actually building the internet, coding websites, to leading big teams, dealing with mergers.
Right.
It's like he's leveling up in real time.
It shows you how adaptable he is. This is a guy who can think strategically. As the whole digital world grows up, he realizes, okay, it's not just about technical stuff anymore, right?
Right.
You need leadership. You got to have vision. You got to be able to build a team, inspire people.
And he gets that. Because then in 2002, he starts his own company, 10 Minutes Interactive, sees a need for an agency that really gets creativity and technology, how they work together, builds it up into this major player.
And he's not just chasing the next trend. This is him building a company with a soul.
Yeah.
Attracting the best people, creating a space where they can actually be innovative. And that's what catches the eye of Ogilvy, this global agency, in 2009.
Oh, I remember that merger. Huge deal. And it wasn't just about getting their clients. It was about Michel, his vision. He's the one who leads the integration of their online and offline departments at Ogilvy Brazil.
Which, by the way, that's a really big deal.
Huge.
That's when the digital world and the real world were like colliding. And Michel was right there in the middle of it all.
But then, just when you think he's conquered the agency world, he goes and takes on a leadership role at Grupo.mobi.
Mobile marketing.
Exactly.
This isn't just a random move.
No.
This is him strategically diving into mobile tech. Remember, this is when iPhones were new, apps were blowing up. He leads the whole repositioning of the company, sits on their executive board.
The guy's just as comfortable in the boardroom as he is in, like, the trenches of the internet.
Exactly.
And you see this throughout his career, right? He doesn't just survive change. He thrives on it. Any environment where he has to learn new things, adapt, he's there. He even co-founds a digital-first agency, Lentag, in 2015. Proves that entrepreneurial spirit never really goes away.
And then we're left.
But honestly, what stands out the most to me, it's his dedication to mentoring, giving back.
Oh, absolutely.
We've talked about all the business stuff, but he also spent a lot of time helping future digital leaders.
Hundreds of them. Café C Lent, he mentored over 800 people. He really believed in sharing what he knew, building a community. Says a lot about him, I think.
It's like that saying, right? The top of the ladder is a lot less lonely when you help others climb it, too.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And that, I think, is a good question for our listeners. As you're navigating your own careers, your own paths, what are you learning from a story like Michel's? How are you going to embrace these changes, these disruptions? How are you going to make a real impact on the digital world?
Definitely something to think about. And as we wrap up this deep dive into Michel Len Schwarzman's career, we hope you've gotten some good insights, not just about his journey, but about the things that make anyone successful in a world that just doesn't stop changing. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.